if you're an avid watcher of the Westchester County eBird page, you probably know some of these locations and you may have seen some of these photos I'm going to show you. But I hope you enjoy them the second time. So it's a good time now for looking for waterfowl, gulls, and I'm always on the lookout for any rarities that pop up. Where I've been going is anywhere that has some open water. It's not frozen, which includes the Hudson, some of the reservoirs, and Long Island Sound. So if you've attended any of Anne's waterfowl refresher courses, or if you've ever helped out with the NYSOA waterfowl count in January, you've probably seen this map overlay that Anne has created. All the places I've visited in the last couple of weeks are pretty much on this list. And I chose these places because they're easy to get to. You know, lately there aren't a lot of trails that are being plowed, or, you know, the shoulders on roads are hard to park on. So these places you can, in many cases, just stay in your car and watch for birds. So Rye is always an excellent place for waterfowl and gulls, and you may even get a shorebird in the winter. The last time I went there, it was raining and windy and cold, and couldn't get any photos. Had to constantly wipe off the scope and binoculars, but I still want to just share some of the birds that I saw there. You know, there were purple sandpipers there, golden eyes, buffleheads, and plenty of long-tailed ducks. It was a good variety, considering it was low visibility and you know, not great weather. So the Croton Railroad Station, I like to hit this pretty frequently. It's easy for me to get to before work and after work when there's still some daylight. So as many you probably know, as you enter the train station right outside Croton Point Park, you take the road all the way down towards the salt shed and the boat launch. You scan this bay right in here. I prefer to go at low tide when there's a jetty and a sandbar that a lot of birds like to rest on. So on March 1st, somebody had been birding there, Bob Lewis. He put out an alert on the Lower Hudson WhatsApp group, and you know, noting that this bird was there. And fortunately, I was, you know, on the grounds at the same time. I was able to see this bird and get a few photos of it, which was fortunate because a bunch of eagles came in and flushed it, and it was not relocated.
It's a nice comparison there with the ringbill. That's cool.
Yeah, I was surprised. I always thought they were a little bit bigger, you know, more herring, sort of herring gull sized. But this bird looked, you know, very similar to the ringbills near it. So these were the eagles that landed on the mudflat. Of course, they're all after one single fish. And this long-tailed duck, which, you know, you see plenty of them in Rye or on the shore, but it's not very common up the Hudson. So this guy's been hanging out with the buffleheads for a week, 2 weeks maybe. It was still there on Sunday. Oh, nice female. So while I was there, I also caught a bunch of geese there and noticed the neck band on one of them. So I was able to get a few shots of this and was able to read the band. And so I went to reportband.gov where you can report any, you could see leg bands or wing tags or neck bands, anything you can get numbers off of, you can report at this site. And in a couple days, they sent back a certificate, tells me where this bird was banded and approximately how old it was. So it's pretty interesting. So this was a
neat to do. Yeah. So it was a true Canada goose, huh?
Yeah, exactly. So is Quebec where you've reported several Canada geese as well in the past, and were they from Quebec or were they?
Yeah, same batches. And Tom or Gail can comment on this too, but that same neck banding operation, we've had geese from there over at Five Islands. Same operation. Bonnie is saying she had one last year too.
Yeah, I think Charlie was saying he saw like 6 or 7 neck bands recently that he has to report. So it's always interesting to see where they came from. I've gotten banded eagles in the past, and you can't usually read the numbers off of photos on the silver band, which is the federal band on one leg, but on the other leg there should be a colored band. And if you can see the color itself, you can usually determine what state it was banded in. So another spot I've been hitting pretty frequently, again, because it's easy for me to shoot to before work, is Steamboat Riverfront Park in Verplank. What I like to do is come down 6th Street in Verplank, check out, Lake Meehaw, which has been frozen on the left, and then turn down I think it's Riverview Avenue, right at the Viking Boatyard. As you're driving down, it's a one-way street. As you're driving down, you check out the marina. A lot of times there's eagles or gulls sitting in there. The pond on the right here, when it's not frozen, often harbors ringneck ducks and herons. And then when I get to the end of the street is the actual Steamboat dock. Quite a few people visit there, just looking for eagles. You can sit in your car and watch there. The great advantage of this place is the river here is fairly narrow, so you see a lot more that's passing through.
Just a comment, not to forget those, and Bonnie, feel free to jump in. This is one of the places where Sawmill has been partnering with Bedford for many years to do an eagle roost monitoring on Thursdays, which is done now, I think, Bonnie, right?
Yes.
But we can look across to Stony Point where they'll come into roost, and then south to the north end of George's Island. So really good eagle watching here, January and February.
Yeah, I think I've been there nights when there's been 35 eagles, in the evening, just flying over the river.
Yeah, I think the high count was 27 this year, just on the north side. And then they had a big group on the George's Island side. But they seem to fly up from Croton. Ginger noticed a couple of them coming up from Croton Point.
Yeah, that could be. There was one evening I was there with, I think Kyle, might have been the same night Tom and Gail were there. We were looking south, about here, George's Island area. There's a lot of them.
Yeah. Well, then they go over to the west side of Stony Point when the adults kick them out, kind of. You get all the young ones just below that practice nest over there on Stony Point. But
right.
Anyway, I'll shut up
now. So last week, 3 northern shovelers came in. I was scanning the cove right next to Steamboat Dock, where all the mallards have been hanging out. There's been well over 100 mallards. The last few days that's been cut in half, but these 3 shovelers just swam in, and they got pretty close, which is not common for me. And then minutes later, 3 widgeon also came in, side by side with the shovelers.
That's a great flight shot. Look at that. You see the belly and the spread wings.
Yeah, I was really happy.
Iridescence on the face.
Color on the males, yeah.
Yeah, really captured that.
I was there this morning again, and there were 7 widgeon, but on the west side of the river. So I highly recommend bringing a scope and scanning, the far side also. Another shot of the widgeon landing.
Can you give some technical data as what lens and camera you're using?
Sure. So I shoot almost exclusively with a Nikon D500 SLR camera, and I use a prime 500 millimeter lens. It's f5.6. I have many lenses, but that seems to be the one I never take off. So this female northern pintail has been hanging around with the mallards also for the last few weeks. I think it has since left. I didn't see it there this morning. So it might have left with a large bunch of the mallards. And not bird related, but cool sighting nonetheless. I was there with Kyle Bardwell and Tom Burke and Gail Benson one evening. The sun had just set and we were packing up, and Kyle had noticed this creature bobbing in the river, just silently floating up the river. And we took a closer look at it, and Tom suggested that it was a gray seal. So I managed to get a few photos that I could lighten a bit. And I sent them off to Tom Lake, who's a consulting naturalist for DEC. And he does the weekly Hudson River Almanac newsletter. So he confirmed with, who was it? Somebody at the Atlantic, I had it here somewhere, Atlantic Marine Conservation Society. They were able to confirm that it is a male gray seal. And this is possibly the 3rd recorded sighting of a gray seal on the Hudson River. I know we've had, harbor seals up and down the river recently. But the gray seal, you see, has got like this horse-like or dog-like snout. So another spot that's been popular lately is New Croton Reservoir. I think the east side has been largely frozen, but from the Taconic on the southern dirt road here, west to about here has been unfrozen, and there's been a lot of great birds there lately. It can be a little pothole-ish and messy because it is a dirt road, but if you go slow, it's pretty easy going. So a popular duck there. I took all of these coming photos on the same day, so there's a mixture of sleet and rain in them. There's plenty of ring-necked ducks there. As well as a bunch of gadwall. Plenty of American coot. Not sure if he's eating, it looks like an invasive, maybe a hydrilla plant, I'm not really sure. But he was going to town on it. And canvasback, there was a single pair, not sure if it's still there or not, but an exciting duck to see there. Another spot I like, mostly because it's only a couple minutes from home, is Annesville Creek. So if you're familiar with that kayak or water sports park that's right off of Annesville Circle, it's easy to park right there. And you get a good view of this bay in here. When it's all iced up, it's very popular for eagles. If you go in the morning, I'd recommend going into this park here on the east side. You take the exit off 9 and Peekskill to get down there. But that way the sun is to your back if you go in the morning. So the last time I went there, I had, I think it was 16 eagles, and there are 12 in this frame alone. And once again, they're all after a single fish. And I think that's about all I got. I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody's got any.
Excellent. There was a couple questions. How do you usually get to the dirt road? I take Aqueduct Road off 134 and go over. Do you come in a different way?
For the reservoir?
Yeah.
Let me look at the
Someone's
map here.
asking about that. Does anybody else want to give a different directions?
I typically come down Route 9 and I take, you know, where 9A and 9 split.
Yep.
I stay right onto 9 and I take the next left at the traffic light and I come over. I end up on a, you know, coming in on the from the west side here.
Yeah.
That's
Like-
quite.
Look on Google Maps. You'll see the road marked along here, and then click in a pin. That's one way to do. Really great photos. Thanks, Steve from Mitchell. Great. Sean, what can you add to that about the new Croton Reservoir birding?
So I usually enter from what's the road off? Right by the bridge where the gatehouse is. That's usually where I enter from.
Yeah.
Snake down that way. It's not the easiest place only because you have so many vantage points. You know, you kind of have to make several stops to find what's out there. I mean, the redheads were a little challenging. They were hanging out in the same spot, but you couldn't see them depending on where you were out there. And then I usually just take that dirt road all the way to the dam, and that's usually my route.
Yeah.
That's typically what I do as well. I like to start on the east side, but because everything from like Taconic east looked frozen the last few times, I would just start on the west side and work my way over and then turn around at Taconic.
The north part of the reservoir on Hunterbrook Road, that I'll call it a finger. I guess I kind of like compared to a thumb. That north area can be really good for ducks as well. And I drove over it today, and most of it is open now.
Oh, interesting.
So
Kathleen Williamson was noting she saw a pair of eagles mating on the ice on the reservoir. And Len, who lives over in that area, talked about top of Quaker Ridge Road. I'm not sure what you were saying there. Just
I mean, that's another entryway to get up there.
Yeah, exactly. Trudy Battle again was saying canvasback pair was present today. Was that on the reservoir, Trudy?
Yes.
Okay. Cool. Kristen is noting huge groups. Yeah, we know about that big vulture flock in Croton. There is a roost there in Croton. There's also one in Pleasantville. Pretty neat to see those. Kara at Mason's says, beautiful shot, Steve. You have to hike into the woods for photographing ducks in Croton Dam on the dirt road.
No, I mean, there's a couple places where there's the rowboats are, where you can, go down on the shore, and there's kind of a path there.
Yeah.
But there's places where you can just roll down your window as you're pulled over and view.
Right.
You muted?
Exactly.
I usually take the scope out and just, scan from the road.
Yeah. And that's a neat road to explore, guys. Actually, it's not bad for warblers and things too. Is Charlie on tonight? Wanted to ask him.
I was going to mention people had red poles along that road.
Yes, I know. I think Suzanne Kavik had red poles there and some others.
And peregrine breed on the bridge, the Taconic South Bridge. No one's confirmed young or evidence like carrying food, but there has annually been a pair of peregrine falcons underneath the southbound bridge.
That's right. The Taconic Bridge, right?
So I will be very happy if anybody can get a confirmation. I've spent hours trying to catch one of these birds at dawn, bringing a bird in underneath the eaves of the bridge. I even went out on a boat one day, way past when there should be fledges out, and I didn't see anything, but the birds were there and they were angry. So
they were being territorial. Yeah.
I never saw any chicks though. So, I mean.
Interesting. Wow. So folks, you know, Sean works for DEP, so the boat thing was legal. Just dropping that in there. So cool. Other comments and questions, guys, as you're prowling around and seeing things in the county. Yep, just scrolling back through the other chats here a bit. And down here. So I know Charlie and some others have been going quite a bit up to Cold Spring. Kyle, you've been up there too. There's been good birds there. He smiles. I know I'm putting him on the spot. I always do that.
Yeah. Charlie's been dragging me up to Putnam in his place. And no, but today was great. You know, it was clear. You know, we got there at 6:45 this morning, and it was pretty early. We could tell that there was a good goose movement coming up the river. So we pretty diligently kind of like counted the geese. You know, nothing interesting diversity-wise flew over, but definitely a nice influx of geese and blackbirds this morning flying up.
Yeah, so you had those high-flying Canadas. We were seeing those at Rockefeller. Just over 2 hours, we had about almost 2,000. Charlie said you had about 5,000 you saw come up the river, high flyers.
Yeah, I think by the time, you know, I was there for a little over 2 hours, and I think we counted 3,000, and then he continued to bird the rest of the morning and had a couple more thousand.
Nice. Yeah, really, things are moving.
It was a widespread thing because I think even in Cape May, they were noticing big flocks of, you know, geese this morning flying up. So I think it was a big widespread movement. Should be good the next few days too, I think.
Yeah. So Tom or Gail, you have some interesting stuff on the sound. Did you notice? Oops, I think you're muted. Here you go.
Oh, I see. You clicked when I clicked, I guess.
Sorry.
Nothing terribly exciting. The shovelers are still hanging around Playland Lake and environs, but otherwise, it's the doldrums are starting to set in. It's something we always, this is the time of year, unfortunately, when we anticipate a lot more happening than actually happens.
Yeah.
Fortunately, that will change very, very soon. Blackbirds and grackles, I guess, are getting us slightly excited.
Who's got the first Phoebe? Phoebe. Well, those tree swallows have been interesting, right?
Yeah.
Really influx.
Speaking of Phoebes, interesting, have you seen the play that's this Long Island Phoebe has gotten where it's been catching fish?
Yes.
And Pat and Shoei just went out and saw that too. And it's a pretty interesting adaptation. I guess
saw a
not
picture
the first
of it
time.
In the minnow. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, people have seen it in the past also.
Maybe it's an evolutionary jump. They're going to become fishers.
Probably a kingfisher hybrid.
That's right. Cool. Watch it plunge dive.
Fourth generation, so it's almost back to Phoebe.
Nice. Somebody said there were Phoebes 2 weeks ago in Shawgunk, New York. Well, that's interesting. They're really vanguards. Good.
There have been a few places, actually several, where Phoebes have overwintered this year.
So Trudy, you had a Louisiana water thrush?
Not recently, just that we've seen Louisiana water thrush catching tadpoles, and we've seen song sparrows catching fish.
Oh, okay. That's why you mentioned them. Oh,
Right.
okay. So you've seen both of them catching fish. Okay.
Right.
Nice. Somebody said, I love the photo of the shoveler. They call that because of the beak behavior. Well, yeah. Yeah, they shovel. They do, Victoria. Pretty neat. They got little plates on there and sieve through the water creatures. So, other comments and questions, folks? So we'll wrap them around here.
Someone asked, Joanne.
Go ahead.
Someone asked, they saw a female mallard paired up with a male gadwall. Is that common? So the female gadwalls look pretty similar to female mallards.
Yeah, there is all kinds of different hybridization that's been reported for various waterfowl, but they're also often in the same habitat, getting the same food. So you have to be wary on that. Just that they're swimming together. Is that helpful to note, Steve, too? Yeah. When do bluebirds in Westchester breed? There was a male checking out a nest box in Lenoir today. Yeah, Joe, this is the season right now. They're singing and dancing and checking out nest boxes. Cool. Yeah, we saw them doing that at Rockefeller today, too. So this is the time. That is starting. All right. Other questions and comments? Let me check the chat box again. All right. Oh, several common mergansers on New Croton by the gorge. Yeah, Emily, they're neat to watch. They're very natty looking birds too. Lots of common mergs on the river and the reservoir to watch. I don't know if some of you saw on social media, somebody's mentioning, you were mentioning that huge flock of black with a few turkey vultures in Newburgh next to North Plank. Somebody took a picture of a wing tag on a black vulture in Pleasantville just last week and was able to send that in. And that's part of a project by Hawk Mountain Sanctuary in Kempton, Central Pennsylvania. And they were able, very interesting. It's a study of, in this case, black vultures, where they move around after nesting. And this bird went all around eastern PA. It went up to Connecticut. And of course, now it's in Pleasantville at a roost there. So interesting data being collected by that study. So you know, Google black vultures, Hawk Mountain, and you'll see that study. Kind of neat. All right, other questions or comments? Other observations?
I have a question. Is it common for gulls to fly in formation?
What kind of formation?
Let me share a photo.
Meanwhile, Steve Kowalczyk's noting the golden eyes off Stone Dock of Crowbucky. Those are neat ducks to see in the river and the sound. Golden eyes. I think, Tom, you have to answer this question. Somebody. Oh, look, they're in a V.
Yeah, they can do that, certainly.
Yeah.
That same aerodynamic supply that are used by geese, etc. Sometimes it's probably a mistake and you just get a nice lucky shot like that. But yeah, they can do that as well. Bonies and stuff, they'll usually go in lines and things like that. But
yeah, there was a big flight of gulls. I think I was with Kyle and Charlie in Cold Spring one morning when that happened.
Going up the river?
Yeah.
Huh. Somebody asked the best place to see bluebirds at Rockefeller. If you park in the main parking lot, walk out to the lake, turn right, follow the lake trail, and bear right at the next fork. You're going to come to an intersection of 4 trails there, Ash Tree Loop and Brothers Path. And there are nest boxes in catty corner fields there and lots of bluebirds singing and dancing. That's one known spot. There are others. You can go up the hill above the office too, and there are bluebirds perched on boxes up there now, claiming them, the hill above the main office. Somebody says, I have a downy excavating a cavity in a declining red maple. When do downies typically start nesting? And if you see them excavating the cavity, you have your answer. They're setting up shop now. They do dig holes to get bugs out of the wood, as some of you know, and they will dig holes in the fall as roost cavities, but this is the season. And you can tell that around your area because the way they make a sound fence is they drum. They do this rolling drum. Other birds sing, woodpeckers drum, and that's how they set up their sound fence for territory. So cool, you got that going on right in your yard. Okay, let's see what else is going on. Is there news about the injured eagle found at Croton Point a few weeks ago? Bonnie, do you know about that? I heard it was going to have to live in captivity. Wait, you're muted. Yep.
No, John, you know more than I do then.
Okay, what did you hear? What did you hear?
No, I just knew.
Okay, I may text John Phillips, who's the naturalist there. That's a very good question because we didn't follow up on that.
Yeah.
It's the eagle that was found grounded. And John Phillips is a naturalist at Croton Point, and he may know about that. Yeah, I know it was taken into care, and I had heard that his wing wasn't that bad, and there was hope that it could go up to Green Chimneys rehab and be released again. But
yeah,
I don't know that for sure.
Do we know anybody who's got a connection with Green Chimneys? We could.
Yeah, John probably knows. I just forgot to ask him about it. Yeah,
I had asked and he last weekend and he hadn't followed up.
Yeah. Here's a couple questions. Is it safe to walk solo at Rockefeller State Park? I would say yes. Always, anywhere, be aware of your surroundings. But it is a safe place to watch. We have had some issues with cars being smashed into there, very rarely. And they really stepped up their watch over the main parking lot. But I feel safe walking there alone. I think you should too. But always be aware. Somebody asked, oh, Kara Mason, it was one of your cars. Ouch. Wrens make a nest in my box every year. Should I clean out the old material or just leave it? You should clean that out, Eileen. This is exactly the good time. Usually want to get your boxes ready to go before St. Patrick's Day. So clean them out. I mean, the wrens won't be back till, what, first week of May? But yeah. If you have wrens nesting there, you might think about adding another box for other birds too. And a great place to learn about different boxes and the birds, not all birds will use them, but the ones that do, is at NestWatch, nestwatch.org. Has box plans, descriptions of all the birds that use boxes. And yeah, that can be a good source for you, nestwatch.org. We're having a more relaxed time. I'm gonna come back into some slides here just to repeat some ideas. Just to say that we're on twice a month, second and fourth Tuesdays, the same Zoom link, so you don't have to register again. You got a reminder tonight, you'll get a reminder for the next one. And our next bird chat, we'll have Corey Finger, author of Birds of New York, joining us. Delighted. He may be on tonight, actually. Corey, did you have a chance to stop in? If you did, give a shout. That will be great. And we're delighted to hear about his book. Some of you I know are newer to birding, and you might not have heard him when he came through before. This is a neat book, actually, Birds of New York. And then second Tuesday in April, we'll have Scott and Denise Stoner talking about birding in the Albany area. And just a shout out to everybody who partners together here. So look at the birding groups from Albany to New York City. And want to wish you, good health and good birding. Get outside. It's going to be really warm and good. The trails are melting, safe walking. And boy, it's great to be outside and to look ahead to a better spring. Beautiful photos. Somebody saying, thanks so much. Somebody new to birding. Great. Yeah, there's a lot of maps you can take in the main lot. Oh, by the way, make sure you look up Avenza, A-V-E-N-Z-A, Avenza. It's a free app, and you can actually download that app and then download trail maps. And as you walk, it'll show you a dot where you are. Can't beat that. Avenza. So that's pretty good. If you're interested in the WhatsApp group, send an email to Sawmill River Audubon. office at Sawmill River Audubon, and we'll get you connected to the Low HUD WhatsApp group. It's a private group and has some posting guidelines that we struggle to follow so we don't get too chatty, but have a lot of neat sightings reported on there. Great, beautiful photos. Thanks again, Steve. And I'm just double checking so we don't miss any comments here, but thank you all. Have a good night and come join us again. A reminder that our program this Thursday is sold out, but we will have the recording online. That's Tom Stevenson teaching about birdsong. And if you do have a registered spot, make sure that you come in before 7, because once we reach 500 seats, 501 will not be able to get in. Very sad. So yeah, thank you again, everybody, for joining us.